In this video, I want to demonstrate how we can rapidly modify Agility Mobile screens using Form Studio. On the screen here, you're going to see Agility Mobile. This is the emulation of our handheld device barcode software that you would see running on the handhelds out in the warehouse. Let's look at Goods Receipt PO. And so this is what the screen looks like out of the box. And if I launch Form Studio, you'll see here Goods Receipt PO in Form Studio. This is how we can go in and customize the screen. So right now it looks exactly the same. You can see we can click around on the screen and we can add fields, and I'll show you how we do that in just a minute. First I want to do is demonstrate how we just do a standard purchase order Goods Receipt PO. Have a PO 1281 already in the system. It's open. We have no Goods Receipt POs against it just yet. Quantity is for 100. And so let's pull up the handheld, and we're just going to go ahead and imagine you've got a packing list coming in the door or anything you can scan the purchase order. When you see this blue field here, you can type, scan, or look up. I have something I can scan here, and I'm going to scan the item, and I'm just going to go ahead and receive 10 of those. Okay, so at this point, if we go back to the purchase order, something to point out here is the system is very much real time. So if I go now look at my target document, it's already done. It's in the system. There's quantity 10. All right, so now let's do a little bit of a modification. So I'm going to go back to Form Studio here, and I have got a purchase order, and I want to show how we can link two transactions together, where we can also issue the item we're receiving to a production order. It could be anything. It could be a transfer, goods issue, shipping. It could be really anything that matches your business process needs. I just chose production order as a simple way to show you how we can transact multiple transactions here. So I'm going to add a field. I'm going to move it up one, and let's give this a name. And we'll call it production. This would be the production order. And I want to make it numeric. Should be a numeric field because the production order is a numeric field. And on the OK button, we'll see what we're doing here. We've got sequences 1 through 4, and so it's going to first do a formula to check to see if I'm over receiving. If we're good, it's going to go do a peer receipt post. Peer receipt post needs a couple of mandatory fields, so we're not writing any code here. We're just assigning variables and fields to properties of a method for peer receipt post. And then we're going to print a document for a peer receiving label and then clear the form. So let's add another Agility Object transaction. Here we're going to add production issue post, and you see all the transactions that are available. And the entry, the base entry, is going to be the production order. Now this is a very quick demonstration, so I'm not doing any validation or anything, but typically you could do validation on these fields. I just know that the baseline is going to be 0. In my case, warehouse is going to be the warehouse that I collected off of the PO when I validate the item on the purchase order, and the quantity is going to be the quantity that we pass in. If I want to return the posted document number, so the new production issue document that gets created, I can return that back to the screen or grab that back and put it on a label if that's important to you. The error, this is a return error, so I'm going to put it to error message. So if there's a validation that occurs somewhere, like maybe the production order has not been released yet or something, those come back to as an error message that can be displayed to the screen. And so let's move this sequence up to just under the purchase order. So it's going to do peer receipt post, production issue post, and then it'll print a peer receiving document and then clear the screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and save the form, and instead of going back to Agility Mobile and running it there, I want to show you how we can simulate it right here in Form Studio. So whatever you see here in Form Studio, however it runs here, it's going to run the same in Agility Mobile because it's running the exact same code. So before I do this, let me just go over here and show you what the data looks like. So we have a production order 168, and we've got our item, our motherboard item that we just did our last peer receipt on, and it's going to do a manual issue method, and we need 100 of those. So I'm just going to leave this screen up here for a second and go back to our Form Studio screen, and again we'll scan the purchase order our item, and we're going to put in 168 as our production order. And typically we might want to do a validation on here to validate that production order, but I'm just doing something quick and dirty to show how we can quickly modify these screens. So type in 10. Okay, we just did the peer receipt again. And now if we go back over here to the production order and do a refresh, we can see we've now issued 10 to that production order. And also if we go to the purchase order, we can see that on the purchase order that on our 1281, if we look at our relationship map, we can now see we've got 2 goods receipt POs that have occurred. Alright, so just to show, explain one more thing here, on this OK button, when we did the action, it's going to run sequences 1 through 5, so this peer receipt post like I showed in the production issue, and it's going to start a brand new transaction at the top. So the transaction begins, it runs through all the sequences. If anything fails, it'll roll it all back like nothing happened. So if I do a peer receipt post, that's successful. It goes to do a production issue, but it finds out maybe the production order hasn't been released yet, it failed. It's going to roll back the receipt so that nothing has occurred, so you don't have any half-baked transactions. And of course, once it's all done, if it's all successful, it's going to commit the whole thing, so that it's got you basically creating all brand new transactions, like what we call a composite transaction that will match your specific business needs. So I hope that was helpful, and you can check out our website at www.wisys.com to learn more information. And thanks for watching.